Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the OCNJ Local, your podcast for everything happening here in America's greatest family resort. We're your hosts, Dominick, Dougherty, and Drew Fasy.
And we are your local guys.
Drew. Got a very interesting topic today: the Crook Creek Nature Trail. Something that a lot of people might not know about. I personally didn't know that it was called the Crook Creek Nature Trail. I am aware of where it is. I think I've been out there once or twice. In my younger days, it wasn't to observe nature though. It might have been to consume some alcoholic beverages. But teach their own. So very interesting though. It's
So
something, like I said, most people might not know about.
so the Ocean City, I'm bringing this up because of what you just said, but the Ocean City Community Association, probably 10 years ago now, they used to do bi-yearly environmental cleanups where they just go to different areas on the island and pick up trash. And one year they did this area and took out like 2 tons of trash. So we probably picked up a lot of your beer cans back there, Tom.
No, I never did that. I always took them out with me. I wasn't one of
Uh-huh.
those guys.
Well,
Maybe one or two.
well, somebody threw a lot of there. Not only beer cans. I mean, we took out. People used to dump their trash back there. Toilets.
Yeah, 2 tons is a lot. So where is this Crookhorn Creek Nature Trail? So we'll let the cat out of the bag here.
Yeah. So it is 51st Street, the west end of 51st. So 51st dead ends basically at Haven Avenue at the beginning of this, what used to be an access road for the railroad. There was the Reading Seashore Line, we've talked about this before, came from Philadelphia and would cross through the wetlands and over the bay at 51st Street, and then it would turn north and go downtown. It ran up until the 70s, and it was basically a commuter line for people commuting from Ocean City to Philadelphia. It did have some freight every once in a while, but it was mostly commuters. So the railroad tracks, which are still there from 36th Street, I believe, they run south, and at 51st Street, they turn west and end at the Intercoastal Waterway. There used to be a turn bridge that was in the middle of the water, and it would turn and attach the railroad lines over the bay, and then when the train continued, it would open back up so boats could go by. So there was an outbuilding there where an operator would open and close the turn bridge, so that there was an access road that ran along the railroad tracks to get to that turn bridge. The road is still there, and had been used by partiers like you, but mostly people who wanted to walk. A lot of birders go back there because there's a lot of birds in the wetlands that they would watch. I used to go back there a lot and fish. There's a pond about 200 yards south. I shouldn't let this cat out of the bag, but it's a good fishing spot. So you'd have to wear waders and walk through the wetlands to get to it, but it was a great spot. So the city had talked about making a rail to trail. It got opposition from the neighbors, and it kind of became controversial. So they ended up shutting down the road, blocking it off to car traffic, mostly because people would dump back there. They would take their grass clippings or their old mattress or their toilet or whatever and throw trash back there, and it became disgusting. So they shut it off to vehicle traffic. It got cleaned up and kind of returned back to nature. Um, the road has really deteriorated. Sometimes I still go back there and walk my dog, and there's there's potholes and puddles as big as a swimming pool. So what the city plans to do, they plan to open it back up to foot traffic and bicycle traffic, not to car traffic. It'll still be blocked off to car traffic, and they will grade that road, put just a gravel surface on it, which is what most state and national parks use as trail surfaces. Is that loose gravel? There's a name for it. I can't remember it. And they also plan on putting, benches to rest and signs, environmental type signs of what type of
Birds
flora
and
and
wildlife you'll
fauna
see.
are out there. Yes. Uh,
Cool.
I've seen deer out there. I've seen fox out there, uh, turtles, terrapins during nesting season by the hundreds. Um, it's just a really beautiful natural area that takes you basically, again, from the terminus of 51st Street to the intercoastal waterway is all wetlands. So you're walking on a road through the wetlands. And what it also allows is access to the bay. Uh, and, in Ocean City, as is the case on most New Jersey barrier islands, access to the bay is very limited, very limited. So if it'll
Yeah, the
allow
only other public access I could think would be Tennessee Avenue.
there, Tennessee Avenue. Yep. There's a city park at Second Street that's bulkheaded with a dock if you want to
Yeah,
fish. Uh,
but still,
That's
no,
about it. That's about it.
sounds sounds like a pretty interesting project and a great place to go. One of the things that I saw too that was nice to see um, was that the neighborhood at the back there is actually supporting this. Um, their talks like, hey, this is our opportunity to make this happen. Shame on us if we don't take it. So that's something that's rare here in Ocean City over the past few months, where a project's actually getting support from a neighborhood.
Well, I think that's due in large part to A, it's not costing us anything, right? The city went out and got a grant for the project. And and B, they went out and talked to the neighbors and heard what they said, put that into the design, and made sure that they didn't go too far, right? It's a pretty modest project. They're the leveling and surfacing the trail, and they're going to add benches and signage. And the city has promised that the public works would go out there, I think weekly during the summer anyway, and pick up the trash, which they used to. There used to be a trash and recycling can at the end of the road at the bay. So they would go out there and pick up that trash every week or twice a week, whatever they did. So they're just going to continue to do that, and made the promise to keep it clean, which was uh, a lot of the neighbors' concern because, again, when it was open to vehicle traffic, people were dumping back there. Now, I don't think they're going to do that now because you can't get a car back there.
Well, let's
And
hope
it's
not.
going to be a designated nature area. So you don't generally find people trashing nature areas.
Well, let's hope not, at least. Um, Obviously, I wonder what's the parking situation going to be like. If this becomes high volume, high traffic area, is there parking available back there? What's that going to be like?
Well, quite honestly, Dom, I don't think it's going to be a high volume traffic
Well, I mean, we're letting
trail.
the cat out of the bag here, Drew. All like
Yeah.
50 people that listen to this might go.
Well, if you look at the rail trail that was built down at Corson's Inlet State Park, which is about the same size actually. So this is about a 3/4 of a mile trail. The rail trail at Corson's Inlet is also a 3/4 of a mile trail. And there's not a loop on either of them. So it's down and back. Um, I walk down there. It's a beautiful trail. I helped build it. It's a beautiful trail, and in the probably 10 years since it's been built, um, I think I've seen less than 5 people while I'm walking it. I think I've seen less than 5 people walking that trail. So I think the Crookhorn Creek might get a little more activity because it's a little more in town than Corson's Inlet, but I doubt it's going to get heavy traffic. And the other piece of the parking is that on 52nd Street, um, between Haven and the Bay, there's no houses, so there's parking on that, roughly 3/4 of a mile stretch. There's plenty of parking, so I don't think
Awesome.
parking is going to be an
That's
issue.
good to know.
Yeah,
Um, 3/4 of a mile, while you said it's bay access, that's 3/4 of a mile is a long way to lug, a kayak or something like that. That's quite a hike.
well, if you have wheels, yeah, it's a pretty good
Still a pretty good hike
walk.
even with wheels.
Yeah, yeah,
You're looking at a good 10-15 minute walk with all that stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously worth it. It's a pretty neat area back there. Um,
I
it's
think
not
you're right
that.
as far as lugging a kayak. I think if most people will choose to put in at either Tennessee Avenue or Corson's Inlet because
Yeah,
you can drive your car right to the ramp, right?
yeah, but it's nice back there. It's not as heavily trafficked as far as boats go. There's a little less congestion in that area. So if you're willing to make the hike, it might be worth it.
And
Um,
for walkers and bike riders, I mean, the view is beautiful. You're walking through the wetlands. It's beautiful.
yeah, probably a great spot for sunset. And something different. I know that the birds are just starting to return to the welcome center, and that's going to start to get more and more crowded as people come to watch the birds. Might be a good alternative on a crowded day to head down to the Crookhorn Creek Nature Trail and see what you can see down there.
It'll be less smelly, I can tell you that. If you
Yeah, I haven't gone over there yet. I've heard
to to the
I've heard this
rookery,
I've heard the smell is can be overpowering to say the
it's
least.
it's pungent, man. I remember
So
stopping there last year, and I couldn't. I don't know how those burgers last. It was bad. I had to jump in my car and get out of there.
no, well, and like you said, there's a lot more to offer there too than just birds. I think seeing the turtles and the terrapins at nesting season, that would be pretty cool. Um, you know, a lot of people, you don't see them a lot, but they're everywhere back there.
Yeah,
Um, a fox, a deer. Deer is something rare to see on the island. I don't think I've seen many deer on the island personally. So
I've seen them. I've seen deer back there a couple of times when I was back there fishing, and more so down at Corson's Inlet. There used to be a family that lived there prior to Hurricane Sandy. Um, I, they hopefully they evacuated. I didn't see them for a while, but more recently, I've seen deer down at Corson's Inlet again.
cool,
Um,
cool.
but I saw deer in the wetlands when I was fishing back there, and fox. I used to see fox all the time.
It's funny because Benny just said he's like, I want to go down to 52nd Street and go fishing. I was like, how do you know about that spot? Like, who told you about that? No, it's a big push to try and get an e-bike. Um, I'm
Ah,
trying to hold off as best I can. But
gotcha.
maybe if he says, I'm going to go to the nature trail, maybe I'll cave. He doesn't listen, so I can say that here. But when he asks, it's a hard no. Uh, so, well, cool. Do we have any time frame as to when this project's going to start or anything like that? I've looked around. I haven't seen anything.
Um, I believe that they they have to wait until after a certain date, and it might be June or it might be July. I think it's July, because of the terrapins. So my
Okay.
guess is that they'll start it late fall, go through the winter. Or, it's again, it's not a huge project, so I don't know what the timeline is, but my guess is they'll wait till the fall to start it, and it'll be open by sometime during the winter.
It is open now, though, correct? To foot traffic?
Yeah, you can walk back there, and I do, but you have to like after the rain we had the other day. I mean, the potholes are literally in places as big as a swimming pool. So if you get a big rain like we did 2 days ago, it's kind of nasty. That road is kind of nasty, muddy, and you have to really at points you have to walk off the road because the water covers it. So
Okay.
yes, you can go back there, but you just have to be careful.
All right. So it is still open. It'll still be available this summer, just not in its new renovated form, hopefully for summer 2026. Uh, it'll be available.
Yeah.
I know there was original plans to make it like a flood berm to help alleviate some flooding, but it seems like that did get opposition, or at least it just wasn't feasible. Um, so it sounds like the city had a nice pivot here that'll benefit not just the residents back there, just everyone who comes to town who wants to get away. Maybe go watch a sunset, see some turtles, see some wildlife. So looking forward to that one getting completed.
Yeah, and I agree. It is nice that the neighborhood is positive about the project and supporting the city on this.
It's about time. It's about time. So, so get there, check it out if you can. The Crookhorn Creek Nature Trail at the end of 51st Street. So if you're traveling south on West Avenue, hang a right on 51st Street, head back to the end, and you should see it right there. So, all right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. This has been the OCNJ Local, your podcast for everything happening here in America's greatest family resort. Peace out.